I'm going to get a lot of for this. All I wanted to be was like glamorous and fabulous. So I always felt like I was in a place where I was sort of set up to fail.
You gotta have a little grit.
I think working at Vogue was probably what sealed that deal. If you watch the movie A Devil Wears Prada, it's almost like a National Geographic documentary. We were maybe the last generation of that grind. I wouldn't want to say young people are soft.
Michael will say it.
You gotta hustle, you have to want it. The 2000s were a weird time. What looked good back then does not look good now.
What was it like working with Anna on a day-to-day basis?
Probably the greatest lessons that I got from her as a leader is that
I just told you off air that I have stalked you to come on the podcast. I'm so happy you're here. You're looking so chic. I think we'll start out with your story for the audience because you have a pretty unbelievable story. How did you first start working at Vogue?
Let's see. I first started working at Vogue after not getting a job at Vogue maybe 2 or 3 times. I'd applied for different jobs at Vogue, and I didn't get them. And then finally, which I understand later, that they just weren't the right jobs for me. So when I finally got the job at Vogue, I was so happy to be there and so grateful to be there. I felt like I was so grateful.
Is it wilder than everyone thinks working there, or is it less wild? Like, what's the real temperature on it when you started there?
So I would say, I mean, if you watch the movie A Devil Wears Prada, it's almost like a National Geographic documentary.
It's that accurate.
It is that accurate. Like her office is accurate. The hallways, the way people dress, the meetings, the everything, the coming in and out of the office, everything is I would say with the exception of the townhouse, everything else is really accurate. The one thing that is different is that in the film, Miranda Priestley is inconsiderate. And she, sort of pit people against each other. And I would say that Anna is kind and thoughtful, and she's determined and deliberate, but she is not cruel. And listen, there was some hazing that went on in the office with between us girls. But on the whole, it was a very supportive place. Everyone got along really well. My father once came to visit. He thought it was really funny. We called everyone by the last names, like a sports team. It was like, "Hey, Boster, hand me the Galliano." Like, "Okay, Davis, I need you down on 4." So it was a great place to work. I really loved every second of it, and there wasn't a single moment that I wasn't like, pinch me. This is amazing. But we worked hard.
What does that actually look like when you say you worked hard? What are the hours?
We worked hard. I mean, back then you would be the first one in the office and the last one out. You wouldn't dream of leaving before, So if there was a single senior editor in the building, you wouldn't leave. You sat at your desk. This was, the desk always had to be manned. I think there was a scene in Devil Wears Prada, there always had to be one person at the desk to answer the phone. So if you wanted to go to the bathroom or lunch, you would have to coordinate. So yeah, late, long hours. And then it was also physically grueling. We're picking up garment bags and huge gowns full of shoes and trunks of clothing and accessories. So it was physically demanding. We're doing all of this in, all of these in, high stilettos at the time. And it was, what we felt it was really important. It was important work. And my job was to get the clothes to the shoots. So I would call the fashion houses, I would get the samples, and then we would bring them in for the actual photo shoots. So it was a lot of negotiating. I recently watched the TV show Industry, and it felt like a lot of like equities trading. You were, really trading samples, trying to get this Galliano. I'll give you look 14 if you give me look 32, and I need it. So it was just a lot of samples shuttling back and forth, but very, very, very demanding. Once I can't remember, it was either my mother or my father where I was complaining about some editor was losing their mind about some dress that didn't make it to a shoot and how they were so crazy. And my mother said, "Well, if you were working in a hospital and, a heart transplant didn't arrive, would you say, oh, that's so ridiculous. The heart didn't make it. And my mother or my father, one of them said, this is the industry you are in. So you need to treat every single piece of clothing as if it were, an organ for transplant because this is your job. And I think that kind of stuck with me forever, that, what we are doing, while it's fashion or, it's important. It's an important fashion is an industry. This is a designer's collection, their dream, their livelihood, the people that work in that for that company. This is their livelihood. It's their passion. So, just understanding that while it may be a superficial industry, what we're doing is important. And I always felt that at Vogue. I always felt what we were doing was important.
What are the things that your parents instilled in you before you went to Vogue to have these tools to be so multifaceted and good at your job? What
it's
are
funny,
the
I was
things?
going to ask the same thing because it sounds like your parents
it sounds like your parents really
work
did a
ethic.
good job.
Oh, yeah, I think they did. I really understood. My father worked for Perrier, which at the time also had like Calistoga and Arrowhead, and so he would actually bring me to his office when they were doing interesting things. So if they were recording a jingle for a radio program, he would sometimes bring me. So I really understood that work could be fun and could be interesting. And so I was always seeking out a job that, was interesting. But no, my parents, I always, I don't know if it's like nature or nurture. I just always wanted to be doing something. I always wanted to be working. I got a little hustler in me, there's always sort of a, if my friends were making friendship bracelets, like I would start a friendship making business. I just always wanted to, I guess I can't do anything in moderation. So I'm always trying to make a business out of everything.
Where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Connecticut, right outside New York City.
Okay.
And I think having the access to New York also, it was so close, like I could almost touch it, but it was still so far away. Lived in the suburbs and lived in a place where it was pretty conservative. It was definitely a commuter town. So people were commuting in and out of New York City. So I always felt that was my destiny. I couldn't wait to get to the city and to have a job. And I also was in a place where, it's kind of like preppy and, things like sailing and golfing and tennis were really important and lacrosse. And I wasn't good at any of those things. I was never going to be the scholar athlete. So I always felt like I was in a place where I was sort of set up to fail. And I couldn't wait to get to a place where all I wanted to be was like glamorous and like fabulous and living the high life. And so I couldn't wait to get out of my like itchy wool sweaters and
It's the story of my life.
Yeah, duck boots and like get to somewhere, really fabulous.
Were you always stylish in high school? And when you were really young, do you look back and see where the style comes from?
I don't think so particularly. I don't. I'm not like being self-deprecating. I was always interested in following trends and what was new, whether it was like neon in the 80s or jams or Vans or, when Madonna came, whatever it was, I definitely was aware of trends, but I wouldn't say that I became particularly, confident and being like, okay, I really feel like I've found my style. I've nailed it. I would say until late 20s, early 30s. I think working at Vogue was probably what sealed that deal. But before I was like kind of a mess, but also it was the time, the 2000s were a weird time. What looked good back then in retrospect does not look good now. Yeah. So I guess I looked great then, but looking back now, it's pretty tragic.
I feel that.
I feel like that's every time I look back at a previous version of myself.
Yes.
And at the time I was like, man, this is the coolest thing ever. And every time I look up, like, oh man, that was not great. Is there like in any era you look back on like that looked great?
No, hopefully this one. I hope. When you look at Vogue and everything you did there, and you look at how hard you guys worked, and you look at the discipline and how you're in the office longer than anyone and all these things, all the work that you had to put in, and you look at kids now working, is there a difference?
Completely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like night and day.
Yeah.
And I think we were maybe the last generation of that sort of that grind. I loved the grind because it made me feel like I was always doing my best, working my hardest. So if something didn't go perfectly, which it doesn't, at least I felt like, okay, I gave it my all. So I enjoyed that grind. I think, listen, there's like a lot more balance now. And, I wouldn't want to say young people are soft, but
Michael will say it.
yeah.
Well, you don't want to say people are soft, but I think the way that I think about it is if you threw the average young person into that environment now, it would be like throwing somebody on a Normandy beach, right? They would be like, what's happening? Like, what's going on here? What do you mean we're staying? Like, I mean, I run a company and it's great and I work with amazing people, but sometimes it's like I have to remind myself that I maybe come from a different age and era, and I'm like, okay, I gotta just like my delivery has to be softer.
Yeah, and I try not to text people on the weekend or after hours, like things like that. I'm very considerate. But I guess even at the time there were people that dialed it in and didn't work as hard. And, I guess in a place like Vogue, the cream rises to the top.
Yeah.
And there were plenty of girls who sat there and kicked back and, didn't really lean in and they didn't make it very far. And that was it. They had a wonderful experience, probably got a lot of bridesmaids out of it. And, great contacts at all the Madison Avenue boutiques, but, they didn't stick around in the industry very long. So, and I suppose today I recognize the people that, I recognize the people that are working really hard. And to be honest, I really see this like younger generation, at least the ones that are just graduating from college and are in the workforce. I see a lot of parallels to when I graduated from college and we had immediately like the .com boom and all my friends got jobs in the .coms and then they went bust and had to sort of restart their career. There was a recession. So I feel like these kids sort of, they've had COVID, there was a recession, and I see them working. I have a couple girls in our office that were working like 2 remote jobs while they were seniors in college. And then moved to New York and picked which one made the better offer. So I do see this next generation of really working hard and understanding that they're sort of coming of age in a rough time, and you need to work.
You got to have a little grit.
You got to have some grit. You got to hustle. You have to want it.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what defined my generation, and you really had to want it.
What was it like working with Anna on a day-to-day basis? Is there like a certain coffee order that she has? Is there particulars and specifics?
Probably the greatest lessons that I got from her as a leader that I tried to instill in my own business and in Moda as the brand is that Anna was very deliberate and she knew what Vogue was. And we all had a very clear idea of what Vogue was and what it stood for and what it meant. And so it was very easy to do our jobs because we knew if something was Vogue or wasn't Vogue.
Good leader.
Uh-huh. And that was very decisive. So you have this army that's just going out and trying to execute that vision. And it was very clear. And I try to do the same. I want in our at Moda with our buying team and our editorial team that they can look and be like, that's Moda or it's not. And it makes your job easier when you know how to do a good job.
How did you develop your own point of view and your own style being at Vogue? Did that happen at Vogue? Did it happen after? Did it happen before? It sounds like you said when you were younger, you didn't feel like you had the style. Did that happen at Vogue?
Yeah, I think I definitely sort of found my style probably working at Vogue because I was able to sort of, try on so many different hats and roles and figure out It really comes down to like what suited me, I suppose. Um, but yeah, I think maybe I wasn't as aware about style as even though when I was in it, I didn't really see how it related to me. I would maybe, want to have like the right bag and the designer dress. But I wasn't quite sure of how to put it all together. Um, and I think it's just training, it was a matter of training my eye and
Probably just being around the culture of Vogue, you just probably pick up so many little tiny things
yeah.
that you wouldn't pick up at a regular job.
Yeah. I think, in the end of the day, what I always go back to in my head, it's not something I learned at Vogue, but, it was again, my mother when I was growing up and, we went through the grunge phase and the hippie phase and the, um, you know, 80s phase, whatever it was. And my mother never really gave me too much advice or direction or, didn't come down on me too hard. All she would say was, just try to look nice. Just try to look nice. And that was it. And, she allowed me to make mistakes and express myself, but she always said, just try to look nice. And I think I always have that in the back of my head when I'm getting dressed. I'm not saying, oh, try to look trendy, try to look cool, try to look chic, try to look elegant, try to look rich, try to look fancy, try to look, I don't have any of that. I just in the back of my head, I'm saying, just try to look nice.
There's an effortlessness to that I think is cool.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if someone is sort of building a capsule collection in their wardrobe, and let's say they're shopping on your site, what are the things that you absolutely think that they need?
Let's see. I think you need great tailored pieces. So that's
you and Michael are going to get along great.
Great.
Well, because
this is a snob. Keep going. Keep
Okay.
going.
I'm not a snob.
I'm
but
not saying it's snobby to have
tailoring
tailored
goes a long
pieces. I'm
way.
just saying
Yeah.
he's very snobby about tailoring. Go ahead.
Oh, good. Okay.
Well,
As
because-
you should be.
Yeah.
Because men, that's
Very
all they got. Let's be honest.
Go ahead. Go
You
ahead.
don't want to be. Well, I think also it's like, you don't want to just pull something off that's not really dialed in for you.
Yeah. And men also, it's about like texture and quality and fabrication. So I think for men, that's key. Whereas women, we can, wear synthetic fabrics and things like that, so long as it looks cool. I think like great tailoring. I think, we live in probably the most probably the question that I get asked the most is about like jeans and shoes, because we're living in a time when jean shape is always changing. Is it mid-rise? Is it high-rise? Is it skinny? Is it straight? Is it flared? Is it boot cut? Back in my day, it used to be trends would take a really long time they had a long tail to them, where now things happen so quickly and they spin around so quickly that if, a couple of years ago, a boot cut would have been strange, but now you have a boot cut again. So I just tell people, like, wear what suits you, because if it's not in fashion at this exact moment, it will be again in a matter of weeks or months or, so to find really what suits you, what makes you feel the most comfortable. I think the one thing that you can, a good thing to play around with is, like jean lengths and jean, like I think the sort of the thing that you can play around with your denim would be, with a boot or a shoe. And those are things that you sort of cycle in and out more. Whereas jeans are so personal and you want to find something that really like you feel comfortable in. And then from there, I'm really into, I sort of growing up in Connecticut on the East Coast. I'm definitely more like sweaters, leather jackets, tweed, things like that. Kind of like a preppy East Coast, more classic vibe in the winter.
I don't think you can go wrong with the classics.
You can't go wrong with the classics. And then in the summer, I definitely like more color, shape, skin. I have a lot more fun like that.
What are no's? What are, like, be honest. I know you have your nose. You've
got so many no's. I have so many no's.
Tell TikTok all your no's.
What are my no's? What are my no's? Okay, so there's this thing where it's like a leotard that goes from the toes all the way up.
Okay.
Didn't you wear that this morning?
No, excuse me. I wore a jumpsuit to work out. It's like a little thin strap. She's not talking about that. She's
No.
talking like a Fashion Nova situation, I think.
And like the wraparound sunglasses. I think if you match your Cybertruck, you're wrong. Like I don't
have a Cybertruck.
Like anything too turbo, right?
Okay.
Like anything too turbo, I'm not into. Again, just try to look nice.
Yeah.
Just try to look nice.
I bet there's some cringy ones where you look at it and you're just like, ugh.
There's
some trends.
There's some, but I feel like it's all part of an evolution. Like if I were to go and look at some things, but I'm definitely, for me, I think where I have the most fun getting dressed up is probably like evening, like a gala or a cocktail party, a wedding. I really like getting dressed up at night for events, like evening gowns, party dresses, fun shoes, sparkly bags. I think that's the time you can be sort of ridiculous and silly and overly feminine I find it easier to express my mood. During the day, I'm like just trying to get through the day, right? I'm just trying to look nice, trying to make it. But at night, I feel like sometimes that will set the vibe,
What did your transition look like from Vogue to what you do now? Because it seems like you're very entrepreneurial. What does that look like leaving Vogue and launching what you've launched?
So, one of the great things about Vogue is all of us really went on to do things in the industry. And it's a really close-knit group of people. So we all started together at some time, picking up safety pins off the floor and stuffing garment bags, packing trunks, things like that. So we all really know each other. There's always a moment where I can't believe, like, oh my God, we're the adults in the room now. This is crazy. But I was working at Vogue and, it was my job to look at all the shows, the fashion shows in New York, London, Milan, Paris, and follow really closely all the collections, what was going down the runway. I had access to the runway, to the designers, to the designer showroom. I could borrow looks, whatever I wanted. So whenever I was going to an event or a party, I would just call up the designer. I'm like, can I borrow that finale look 32 for the night? And that's just sort of how how it was back then. And I had this access to fashion that was very unique and very rare. And
did you realize that at the time?
At first, no, I took it for granted. And then as I started making friends in New York City that were maybe outside the fashion industry, that worked in all different industries and had great jobs and worked really hard, and they resorted to, browsing a department store floor for, the best looks. And it was very apparent to me that the things going down the runway had absolutely nothing to do with what's in the store. And that you're seeing on the shop floor sort of a watered down commercial version based on what sold the year prior. And so it was just very clear to me that there was a really big disconnect between, the clothes going down the runway and the clothes that women were actually available to buy. So this was also during the recession. So department stores were buying very safe. And then also, I don't know if you remember, but it was this time where it was just in very bad taste to be sort of shopping because so many people were suffering. And the economy was so bad. And so, a lot of stores took away their, where you're walking out in like plain paper bags and things like that, just to be considerate of the mood and the environment that we were in. So things like shopping parties and trunk shows and shopping events were really canceled across the board. And a lot of the designers, that really hurt their business. So, I was hearing from them, Lauren, can you organize something? Maybe can you invite your friends to come to the showroom to order? Because, we miss this, not only the business, but also the interaction to a certain extent, with this customer. So for me, it was just this real, wanting to connect the two. I am very much like a sharer, like whatever is the opposite of a gatekeeper. Like I am the opposite. If for me, nothing is good until it is shared. I'm just like an oversharer. If I find something good, I want to I want to share it with everyone, which is, I think not everyone's, impulse. I share everything. So I think that was it. And I loved the fashion industry. I loved what I did. I loved being a part of it. I thought it was I wished everyone could work in fashion. It's the best job. Why wouldn't you want to? So I just wanted to bring more people along for the ride and to be a part of this world and a part of the fashion community and see these clothes up front. And so the idea was to take the traditional trunk show, which is when designers would, every season, they would pack up their clothes in trunks and travel around the country or around the world with their runway collection. And women would shop it, place orders. And that's just sort of how the, very chic Upper East Side women used to shop. That's how it was done. So we just took that very simple concept and put it online. And so
what year was this that you did this?
This was like 2011.
Okay.
So we still do that. The designers have changed. Many have come and go. So we have the established designers that and love, that are going down the runway, like Bottega, Valentino, Prada, Carolina Herrera, Oscar de la Renta. And then we have, really new and up and coming brands like Operandi just showed in Disneyland with Kylie closing it. Lots of great brands out of Paris like De Femme and Operandi. Upcoming designers like Magda Bertram, Paris, Georgia, Attico, just like really cool brands. So it spans the spectrum. And that is, that's always been my, what interests me is, working with designers, finding designers, and then helping them tell their stories, connect them with customers, and then helping women, making them love the industry and and just getting to see the best clothes that there are, and not seeing like a watered down assortment, and having fun. And I think taking it a little less seriously and having fun with it.
How did you know how to build the infrastructure of a company and do the business side of everything you're doing? Because it sounds like you had the fashion element. Did you learn that? Did someone help you? Do you have someone on operations? What does that look like?
We are 100 and I want to say 175 people, our business.
Wow.
It's been, a long time.
10 years. Yeah. I think we have the most talented, best in class team that you could hope for. When I graduated from college and you wanted to work in fashion, the job was, I want to work at Vogue, right? That was the job. And so I wanted to create a company that when girls were graduating from college and they were like, where do I want to work? Like, I want to work at Moda. I had the other day, like a family friend came up to me. She said she really wanted, she had an offer at JP Morgan, at Goldman Sachs. Like a really clever girl. And she said, I think I want to work in fashion and skip finance. I'm like, this is amazing. And I'm like, well, there's an amazing, executive program at Estee Lauder. There's one at Chanel. These are, would love someone as smart and clever and as you, and, I can connect you. And she was like, well, thank you. That's really nice, but I just want to work at Moda. I'm like, okay, we'll take it. So I think that's probably for me, like one of the most, proud moments. And so we do it. We attract great talent. And when it comes to the fashion industry in New York, I think we are the center of all things fashion and creative. So we really have an incredible team.
What does a day in the life look like for you? And I'm sure it's different every day, but give us a little behind the scenes peek of your week.
So let's see. Yes, it's different every day. I'm very much a go where I'm needed. And I try to, I know what I can do and what no one else can do. So if there's something that other people can do, I let them. But I know where I'm needed.
What are some of the things that you feel like you're absolutely required for at this point?
I mean, if it's interfacing with either a really top client or a really top designer or executive, that would be at some point I am required to be there attending fashion shows, which is very time consuming.
That looks exhausting as somebody who's like, I don't know that
It
well
is
that well.
exhausting, but it's fun.
like a
I'm
lot.
still not bored of it. I'm like, when I get bored, that's when I know it's time
in your
to
blood,
retire.
I feel like.
Yeah. I like to be honest, when I'm doing scheduling, I like to do in the beginning of the week, anything, that's that's sort of a repetitive thing. I do in the beginning of the week. So, some of the more boring, business-minded, mundane, finance-related stuff like that towards the beginning of the week. And then towards the end, so it gives me something to look forward to. And I also feel I'm just maybe a little freer, a little looser. That's when I want to do things that are more creative and brainstorming, going over editorial, looking at designers and lookbooks. And I try to do that towards the end of the week. I just find that's, I read once someone, maybe it was like Bob Iger, an executive of a creative industry, and it just clicked. And because I do find at the beginning of the week, I can be a little more stressed out and not as loose with ideas. And
For my own selfish self, I want to know how you balance everything you're doing with motherhood. How does that work? Do you have like sort of, I don't know, pillars or bullet points that you live by when it comes to kids and work?
I set the expectations very low for myself.
Hard.
I tell my children that I will drop them off at school on the first day of school, and I will pick them up from school on the last day. And then anything in between is like a surprise.
Huh?
So I'll be there, a random Wednesday picking them up, and my children will run across the playground and hug me because they are so happy. Meanwhile, the other moms who are there every morning and every afternoon and like don't even get a high five, they're like, what? This is... And so
Implement a little distance, a little bit of surprise.
So they're excited, and so I set expectations really low for myself, for my children. I never pretend to be, like a perfect friend, a perfect boss, a perfect mother. So when things go wrong, I can sort of laugh and it's expected. I'm like, oh, well, of course. And then when things go right, like, that's great. That's also, that's a surprise. So I keep expectations really low.
I think that's a healthy way to look at it. I think when you put that kind of pressure on yourself as a parent, you're always, in my opinion, going to fall short of it because there's always something going on.
Well, and then I think, your kids realize one day they're going to wake up and realize that you're not perfect. And that's such a jarring awakening for children. So I'm like, I'm just going to level set. So my children know from the very beginning. So there's never this like, falling off the pedestal moment of what, but instead they'll just be like, oh, my mom's cool and she did the best she could and she loved me and she was there whenever she could. And so I think that's I think that, just having really low expectations for myself and having others have low expectations.
That's good. That's what you do want your kids to say when they're older is my mom did the best she could.
Yeah.
I saw her work or do what she loved. I watched that in front of me. I mean, that is sort of the goal.
Before we got married, a buddy of mine was I was asking him advice because he was married for a while. And I was like, what's your advice? He goes, listen, buddy, set the bar low. He's like, if you come in too hot, too heavy, too high in the beginning, that's your bar. He's like, if you come in and then you work your way up over time.
This is good to know.
I totally agree.
But if you know what I mean? Like you said, because if not, you're constantly falling short.
Yes.
But once in a while, maybe I'll surprise her with something that's like, whoa.
Yes, I totally agree.
Listening.
I totally agree with that. 100%.
When you have a dinner party, we were talking about this last night. What do you do when there's a bore?
A bore?
A bore at the table. What do you do?
I'll take the bore.
You'll take the bore?
I'll take the bore. Yeah.
You'll take the bore?
I'll take the bore. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I always, it's funny. I always laugh that like if I'm going to a dinner party, because I can talk to anyone that, I always laugh. I'm like, I'm either seated next to like the best, most important person in the room, or the worst, most like horrible person in the room. Because I can handle both.
Oh, now that you're saying
Everyone's
that,
like, am
people
I
are going to
the
be wondering
bore?
which one they. Which
Oh,
one
now
they-
look at her Instagram.
Well,
Who's the board?
That's what I mean. That's
People that have been at dinner parties at the R be like,
you
shit,
know, but
which
the
one
thing
was
is,
I?
the board doesn't know. The board doesn't know.
I'm not
That's what
self-aware.
makes them a bore.
Yeah.
That's what makes them
So
a bore.
what do you do with the boar? What are your like tips?
You know, I get up and smoke cigarettes as often as possible to leave. No, you know, it happens. There's probably something lovable about them, or you know, you can always find like something, you know, something lovable at some point.
What does your morning look like before you go to work? Do you have any like wellness, beauty, skin things that you do?
I am like the least wellness, like woo-woo person
Okay.
ever.
Okay.
I try to be more woo-woo. I really do. But I'm pretty simple. I would say, you know, there's like a bunch of coffee shops in my neighborhood. I live in Gramercy. So it really like depends on, I would say my day starts, my first decision is like, where am I getting my coffee? There's different coffee. It's more like a smooth, easy morning cappuccino. Other ones, it's like jet fuel, like rocket fuel.
What's the jet fuel order?
The jet fuel is Irving Farms.
Irving Farms. But
Irving-
what is the specific order when you go there? Like,
I
is it
do
like,
cappuccino, skim cappuccino.
oh, it's always a cappuccino.
Always.
But it's just a strong cappuccino.
Yeah. Yeah. Irving Farm is very strong. Then you have Devotion, you have Daily Provision, Hutch and Waldo. There are so many. Bluestone, all within, you know, 500 feet from my house. So that's really my first decision, and it sets the tone of the whole entire day. So I usually start out the week with like rocket fuel, and I end with a nice smooth, you know.
I drink a lot more coffee when I'm in the city.
Yeah. What is
yeah.
like? I like feel like I'm drinking so much coffee here.
I know, I do. And you drink a lot of coffee here. I don't know what it is because it's everywhere, and it's so good. It's so good. We got the best pizza. I mean, it's the greatest city in the world.
It is the greatest city in the
It
world.
really is the
I've been
greatest city
slowly
in the
trying to
world.
convince Lauren. Like,
I'm convinced we can.
It's the greatest city in the
Yeah,
world.
I mean, I'm convinced.
we're going to open an office out here just so I can slowly start to
Do.
sneak more time over
Do.
here.
Yeah,
Good.
I'm in. I
Great.
mean,
She seems pretty convinced.
I could never. So we grew
I'm
up in
in.
California.
Yeah.
And I always
We're in
felt,
California?
With San Diego.
Oh,
and then
cool.
like,
That's pretty
you know,
nice,
like Rancho
too.
Santa Fe area. And then went to LA. But I never felt at home in LA.
Okay.
And even like I love California. There's a lot of great things about it. But I just felt like I feel much better here. Like if you
Yeah.
drop me here, like just like let me go.
LA
Yeah.
is my
I'm the
mistress.
same.
It's
I'm the
not, it's a
same.
mistress. You fuck LA, you let it suck you, and then you get out.
Well, I'm like, if we're going to be in a
Exactly.
city, let's be in a real city.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to sit in a car for 45 minutes to
Yeah.
go, you know, see, you know, a wave or something.
Yeah. I listen, I go to LA, I'm like, this is so nice.
Yeah.
This is
The weather, you cannot beat.
and then,
It's-
you know, like 4 or 5 days later, I'm ready to go home. But it really is, you know, I think to be able to, if you could figure out a way to do both and be like
Slowly.
actually bi-coastal, I mean, that's the dream,
well,
isn't
now we're
it?
in Texas.
Better work harder,
Oh,
Michael.
Yeah.
It's a little different.
On it. Get on it.
Yeah, you better work
No,
harder.
I'm
Yeah.
on it. Tomorrow I'm going to go look at, the reason I asking,
Ah.
I'm going to go look at some stuff tomorrow.
I bet she knows the places.
I know I've always wanted to be a matchmaker and I've never succeeded, but I can find you a job and I can find you an apartment.
Huh?
Like I
Well,
can
if
do
this
that.
podcast thing doesn't work out, I'll call you for the
Great.
job. Yeah.
Great.
What are the little beauty, skin, nails? Like I see, like you have a nail color. Like do you? What are the things that you're reaching for right now? Hair products.
I am, let's see. So I was like a triple process blonde for many years and I'm slowly weaning myself out of it. So getting my hair to be really healthy has been kind of my priority. It's probably the most wellness thing that I've ever embarked on in my hair journey. But I use it like Olaplex. I've been really into the K18 is fantastic.
Okay.
Milbon. I'm like really taking care of my hair with conditioners. But I would have to say, and I'm probably the only person that's going to mention the name Nutrafol without getting paid. But everyone's getting paid by Nutrafol. I am not paid by Nutrafol.
Nutrafol.com/skinny. That's a free one for you, Nutrafol.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's absolutely, you say to take 4 a day. So I take 8 just to be safe. And the multivitamin. And it is a game changer. So that's my hair journey. And then because of it, without even realizing, now I have to have my nails done because they're growing so much because of the Nutrafol. I'm also having to like re-laser my legs from the Nutrafol.
Oh my God, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
My leg hair is so long right now. Poor Michael.
Yeah. Oh.
You know what though? Shaving needs
low
to be
expectations. Low expectations.
It's like down to my toes. Poor thing. That's maybe the Nutrafol.
I don't mind it as long as when you shave it, you don't use my face razor. That's the
Fair enough.
It's horrendous.
Fair enough. They always get so mad about that. Why is that such a big deal?
I have no idea.
Let me ask you this. You want me shaving my body with your razor?
I wouldn't even notice. I'd just rinse it out.
I wouldn't notice either.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like the hair fall. I feel like you're not supposed to mix those things.
I think
it's a thing. It's a thing. I don't think it's real, but I know.
I mean,
because you guys probably don't care because it's like going on your legs. Like I have to put that on my face. And I'm like, where's this thing been?
Okay, fine. That's valid.
It gives you a little rugged.
Yeah. Okay, I get that.
You know
on the
I mean?
face. Yeah.
Like not to be vulgar here, we just met, but what if I was like shaving my balls with your and then,
well, you do shave your balls in the toilet.
Yeah,
and
but I don't use your razor.
Well, you have your own quirks, so let's not be judgy.
Yeah, but I do it with my own equipment.
Okay,
that's fair. That's fair.
All right. Quick break to talk about Symbiotica as we head into the holidays. This is the time when many people take their foot off the gas pedal. Holidays are here. Let's eat. Let's be happy. Let's be merry. I would argue let's also try and be as healthy as possible, which is why I'm so excited to talk about Symbiotica. What I love about Symbiotica is they have such an array of products that can help support your entire body, your entire system. It is a time when, like I said, we are eating a little bit more than usual, drinking a little bit more. There are different viruses going around. It's that time of year when people are getting sick. So what better time to boost your immune system and make sure your body is able to handle all the things that you're going to throw at it during this holiday season. Some of my favorite products that Symbiotica offers are their liposomal delivery supplements. Their vitamin D3 and K2 is one of the best on the market. It's an essential supplement that everyone should be taking. Their methylated B vitamin formula is incredible. I've said for many years that I think they have one of the best glutathiones, which is one of the most powerful antioxidants on the market. And their magnesium L-threonate is absolutely incredible. Lauren and I have had the founders of Symbiotica on this show so many times to discuss all of the different offerings and health initiatives that they're pushing. And we genuinely trust Symbiotica and their ingredients. So many supplements contain fillers or harmful additives, but Symbiotica's products are made clean and with intention. They don't contain any seed oils, preservatives, toxins, and we couldn't be bigger fans of the brand. So as we get ready to head into the holidays, you guys need to get your hands on these products while their Black Friday sale lasts for a limited time. Head over to Symbiotica.com right now for 25% off plus free shipping site-wide. Again, that is Symbiotica.com right now for 25% off and free shipping site-wide. Again, Symbiotica.com.
Fasting can feel really overwhelming. I know when I first started hearing people talk about the benefits of fasting on this show, I was overwhelmed. But then I found out about Prolon. Prolon is a revolutionary plant-based nutrition program that nourishes the body while making the cells believe they're fasting. So you're essentially tricking your cells. It's not a diet, it's science, and it's science based on Nobel Prize-winning discoveries and medicine. It's a 5-day program. So what I did is I was going down to Cabo. I wanted just to feel really great in a bikini, and I wanted to try fasting at the same time. So I got the kit. It has snacks, soup, beverages, all designed to keep your body in a fasting state. There's like these little olives they give you too. You don't feel like you're literally just fasting on water. You have all these little things to take and eat. And I honestly didn't feel deprived. And I have to tell you, when I got into that bikini, when I went to Cabo, I was feeling great. So much so that I actually did Prolon the second time I went to Cabo. So I actually went back to Cabo and did the same thing. I loved it. It wasn't just about tightening up though. It was about seeing how I felt in a fasted state and just seeing what it was like and experiencing it. I think it's really fun to test it out, especially if you're overwhelmed by fasting. This is science-backed and designed to help you thrive. Right now, Prolon is offering the Skinny Confidential Him and Her Show listeners 15% off their 5-day nutrition program. Go to prolonlife.com/skinny. That's PROLON life.com/skinny for this special offer. That's prolonlife.com/skinny.
Lauren and I were just talking today in the car on the way to the studio, and we were talking about how hard it is, even with the resources that we learn about on this show, to stay healthy, to make sure you're getting the cleanest ingredients, to make sure you're putting the right foods in your body, and to just live in a healthy way. You really have to be your own guru, do your own research, and make sure you're eating the best ingredients that you can eat. This is why Lauren and I love Primal Kitchen so much. For all the other parents out there, you know how hard it is. Feeding a family can feel like a full-time job, and finding something that's nutritious and actually tastes good isn't always easy. That's why we're huge fans of Primal Kitchen sauces and condiments. They're our go-to for making the real whole foods we love taste even better. Like I said, Lauren and I are really careful about what we feed our kids, what we feed ourselves, and with Primal Kitchen, we know we're getting ingredients that we can trust. We have had the founders of Primal Kitchen on this show multiple times, talking about their journey and how this incredible brand came about. We love seeing real food ingredients like California grown tomatoes in the ketchup, organic cage-free eggs in their mayonnaise, and their dressings are made with good fats from avocado oil, no corn syrup or artificial sweeteners, no soy, no canola oil, and all of their condiments taste incredible and make the food that you're eating even better. So check them out. You can find Primal Kitchen products at Target, Walmart, or your local grocery store. We stock up at Whole Foods all the time, or you can go to primalkitchen.com/skinny and get 20% off your whole order with our personal code skinny at checkout. Again, that's primalkitchen.com/skinny.
How do you balance being married and all of this? Do you guys have date night? Is he coming in the office? Are you going and hanging out with him? What's the balance there?
My husband's just a really great guy. So, the longevity of our relationship and the health and happiness is purely because of him, because he's just a really nice, easygoing, good guy. Probably like here,
Exactly
right?
It's exactly how she describes me.
And that's great. I just have to say he's like very, he's just super supportive of everything I do and just thinks I'm great and, can do no wrong.
You're saying 25 years before we started. That's rare these days.
Yeah. So we met, I was like 21 and he was 19.
In Paris.
In Paris.
That's such a good story.
Yeah.
It's almost like you wrote it.
Right?
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a really good one.
So yeah, I mean, we live in New York. We try to enjoy it and do as much as possible. And like we live in Gramercy. We're really close to the Lower East Side and the East Village. So there's always new restaurants opening. Like we go to Hole in the Walls. We're not going to fancy restaurants, but there's a new like Korean restaurant or taco restaurant or hamburger shop. Like we'll fried chicken. We'll go. We go to plays and museums and really taking advantage of the city. Like we actually during COVID when we were away and stopped doing all of those things, I really made I sort of made a pact to myself. When the city gets back to normal, I'm going to take advantage of it. And I'm going to Carnegie Hall tonight. I'm, going to, there's a new show at the Shed, Luna, like a Warhol show coming up. They also have like King Lear. I go to a lot of Broadway shows. I just try to use the city as much as I possibly can.
What's the LSD guide to restaurants here? Like, what are your? I know you said Hole in the Walls, but what are the top 3 restaurants that everyone needs to know about?
I mean, I do like I said, like Hole in the Walls. I would say S&P, the former Eisenberg's Diner. It's like a proper sandwich shop with like a sandwich bar. It's in Flatiron. I want to say like 21 and 5th. Let's see. Yellow Rose has the best tacos on 13th and 3rd.
Are they proper tacos? Because I will say.
Yeah, well, listen, you're from California.
Yeah.
Okay, I shouldn't even mention
Okay.
it.
Yeah. Because we haven't had a good taco here yet.
I know. Well,
someone's got to do a taco.
Listen, it's the best. There's no burritos here, first of all. So
Okay.
don't even
try.
Don't even try it. But the Yellow Rose tacos are, I think, incredible.
Okay.
You'd be the judge.
Okay.
But still no burritos. We're not there yet.
Okay.
Maybe another 100 years or so.
Yeah.
And what's your 3rd?
What would be my 3rd? I would say I love, what about, it would be a tie. I would say Madame Vo does pho in the Lower East Side. And then there's the Dragon Cafe in Chinatown. It's like a diner, but the most delicious diner food you've ever had.
Dragon Cafe.
Yeah, Dragon Cafe.
Sounds good.
I see from your Instagram that you're a huge reader.
Yeah.
And I'm like screenshotting all the books in your book recommendations.
I
What
read a
are the
lot.
books that you're obsessed with lately, or maybe ones that you've read in the past that our audience would love?
So right now I do a lot of like a lot of bios and historical fiction. Like that's sort of like my go-to, like my safe space.
I'm trying
Um,
to get you into historical fiction, Lauren. I'm telling you.
Well,
yeah.
what he likes historical fiction too.
Oh,
What are the
really?
what?
I'll give you a list.
Don't you think historical fiction writers are some of the best writers because they have to write about fact and fiction and
Yeah.
weave a story?
This is
Yeah.
his favorite.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And I also I was a history major. So there's just something about history. It takes you back. And I'm also like quite cynical. So no matter even if it's just a novel, I'm already like finding all the holes in the story. Whereas like you can't do that when it's actual, history. Um let's see. I'm really drawn to books with like really flawed female characters where there's like the women are actually horrible,
Okay.
but you still love them. So I like for example, I would say Custom of the Country. There's this Edith Wharton. There's a character, Undine Spragg. She is just like a gold digging, social climbing monster. And like, stepping over each husband to get to the next. And she's just awful. And she's one of my favorite literary characters ever. There's another one, House of Mirth. The character Lily Bart. It's also pretty awful. Probably the worst character ever would be Dominique Franken from The Fountainhead. Awful.
Oh, I gotta read that.
The love of her life, Howard Rourke. She destroys him. Literally destroys him.
Sounds fun.
Beautiful.
Don't read these books, Lauren.
And like the obvious one would be like Scarlett O'Hara, Gone with the Wind. It's a beautiful book. She's horrible. She screws over. She steals her best friend's husband. She has an affair. She lies. She cheats. She steals. She's miserable. She's great. So I love those kind of characters. So I reread those books all the time. I'm reading one right now about Pamela Churchill. She was a socialite in New York, but before that, she was actually had a pivotal role, sort of in the Secret Service in British intelligence during World War II.
Was she related to Churchill?
She married Randolph Churchill, who was Winston Churchill's derelict son, Randolph. And then she continued to marry upwards and seduce along the way. I love a wicked woman. I don't know what to say.
I love it. Tell us about your Tiffany collab. You said you're the creative director of the home. It's so funny you say that. I've been buying all my gifts lately for my friends on Tiffany.
Oh, great. Well, as you should.
I'm buying all my gifts. It's like where I go now.
Yeah. So growing up for me, Tiffany really was that. It was a place where you go to mark any kind of milestone in your life, whether it was like, a birthday, first communion, 16th birthday, graduation, engagement, wedding, first child. Tiffany, like all of those experiences were always marked, at least in sort of the American lore with that blue box. And so I think it's just always been central to my life. I mean, whenever we would, go to a wedding, we would drive into New York City and buy something from the wedding registry. And, so that was just very much part of my upbringing. And also a part of it was also, Tiffany Home and tabletop. So, it was like you had to have Tiffany on your table growing up in Greenwich, Connecticut in the 80s. Like that was it. That was the end all be all. So, and still kind of is, I think. At least for me, having beautiful porcelain and silver. So I've been working on bringing back a lot of their going into the archives, pulling out a lot of famous and iconic patterns and silver patterns, and then also introducing some new ones. So I think we'll really approach it where, definitely it's all these giftable moments, celebrating all of these, incredible highlights of your life. So that Tiffany is always there at these beautiful moments in your life, all these important milestones. And then it's really honoring the heritage of New York, of American design, of Tiffany. And then we'll introduce some like fun, tabletop should be fun, entertaining should be fun. So a lot of, exciting, kind of more trendy and, exciting pieces also.
I imagine that's such a fun experience. Like I've always worked for myself but what I think would be rad is to go into a heritage brand like that and be able to look into the history and kind of like honor it, but also keep it new. Like that would actually be intriguing.
Yeah,
I
what
think.
a cool.
It's like our historical fiction, but
Yeah.
it's exactly that. It's like there's something about going into the past and drawing something that's real and true from the past and bringing it into the future. Like there's something quite gratifying about that. And just like whereas I love something new and I love something modern, I am always sort of drawn to the past, especially like like an elegant or past with some sort of heritage. But yeah, that always brings very
How
true
did that
for me.
opportunity come about?
Well, I'd been doing at Moda. We have an in-house brand, an in-house tabletop line called Moda Domus. And when, I sort of became obsessed with tabletop at some point, and when that happened, there was really only, the same patterns that existed when I was getting married still existed today. So we wanted to bring a lot of newness to the category and excitement, more casual, entertaining. So I'd been doing that for about 6 years with our own line. And
Cool.
so I do feel, and, production and manufacturing and design and marketing. So kind of a unique skill set. So I like to believe not only do I love it and I'm good at it, but there just isn't that many people that have been doing it, that have been just really like had their hands in tabletop for the last,
So they
however
see
many
you
years.
doing that and then they approach and say, okay, we gotta.
I assume so. Yeah.
Also on your
Cool.
Instagram, I feel like I was looking today. You show your own tabletops a lot in your Instagram,
Yeah.
so it's a perfect synergy.
Yeah, I really like it. I grew up and there was always a lot of, this idea of entertaining for me was always really terrifying about manners and etiquette and which fork goes where and where do you put your elbow? And like
Yeah.
all of this, like questions of etiquette and manners that felt to me really loaded. And, I still can't tell you, like, does the red wine or like which one goes where, the red wine or the white wine, I still don't really remember. But all of that felt really loaded to me and really scary and very intimidating. But once I was sort of able to unpack it and take away all of that sort of nonsense and treat it as a creative expression. Like this is simply about a beautiful tablecloth and putting on top of it a plate that I love and some glasses that are also pretty, in the same way you would get dressed, like a beautiful dress. You have a purse and then, 2 earrings. So, I just sort of approach tabletop in that way, trying to take away a lot of the stigma to it. And then I sort of got really into it as a creative expression, throw some flowers in. So Moda parties, when we started like 10 years ago, always had some element of, like of the table and tabletop. And it's sort of what Moda became known for. And then I became known for of these beautiful tables. And then now it's, become sort of a really popular craze and people are really leaning into it as a creative expression. Whereas, previously it was really it was a very formal thing and
A little stuffy.
so much. It was so loaded with.
I love a tabletop.
I
Yeah,
know.
I love a tabletop.
yeah, it's great.
I mean,
I love it.
I love a tabletop. It's almost like you're styling for the table and you're making it look nice. There's a lot
Just
of
make it nice.
yeah.
Make
There's
it
a
look
lot.
nice.
There's a lot of the same. I feel like
Yeah.
with the clothes and the way you approach it. I have a friend of mine who's a huge fan of you,
Yeah.
and he texts me at some.
I love that.
Yeah, he texts me
Great.
some specific questions that are very interesting.
Okay.
What's a social faux pas? He said.
I mean, the basic is showing up on time.
Okay.
I think like you always wait 20 minutes.
Ugh.
For parties, for social stuff.
Yeah.
What about for business stuff?
Business stuff, no, you're on time.
Okay, so
and
she was just trying to
early.
I had to
And
clarify.
like dinner
I read-
reservations, if you're the one who made the dinner reservations, you need to be there first.
Before.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you made the reservation.
She was just, I know what she was going to do there. She was going to say, see, don't have to get on time. And I
Yeah,
was-
no, but if you're inviting someone to your house at like 7:00, you show up at 7:20.
Okay. All right. Is the in-person shopping experience dead?
I don't think so, but it needs to be improved. I have, before COVID, Moda had some showrooms, in-person showrooms. We had London, Hong Kong, New York, Los Angeles. And so we really had in-person, very intimate, one-on-one shopping and styling appointments, events, experiential, pop-up, trunk shows, designer experience, runway. So we really ran the gamut. And then during COVID, we sort of shut all that down. And I've been sitting on, for the last 5 years, ideas of how the shopping experience in person can be improved, how it can be made to be exciting. So I think that's sort of the next step for Moda is really, first probably in New York, maybe after that in Los Angeles or Miami. But I really think it's not dead and it needs to be reinvigorated and brought to life. And we need to meet the customer where she is. But I also think our designers want to interact with customers in a very chic and safe environment that, a designer now can't walk the shop floor and, do an appointment. It's beyond. So I think there's a lot of opportunities to just go back to what I love to do, which is to connect the, designers with the customer.
I have the gift for you. This is a gift that my mother-in-law actually gave me, and I absolutely love it. I think it's genius. So it's called Aura, and Aura is a digital picture frame. So this was named the best digital picture frame by Wirecutter. And essentially what it does is it makes it incredibly easy to share unlimited photos and videos directly from your phone to a frame. So what my mother-in-law did, she was so cute, is she got everyone in the family one so we could all share photos. I really like this because I'm someone who likes fresh photos, but I also want to see like old photos of Michael when he's little. So she kind of mixed it in. It was really fun. And you can gift it to anyone. You could just get one for yourself if you wanted, whatever you want, but you can personalize it and preload it with thoughtful messages and photos using the Aura app. So maybe you have a cousin in Florida and maybe you're in California. Maybe you have someone overseas, but you just want something really purposeful. This is a really special gift. They'll use it every day. You could also just get one for yourself and use it in your guest bedroom like I do. I have one of just my kids in my guest bedroom. It's so cute. It's pretty. It's simple. It's white. It has a black frame around it. It's a really, really great gift. For a limited time, visit auraframes.com. You get $45 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames by using promo code SKINNY at checkout. I use my own code. That's AURA frames.com, promo code SKINNY. This exclusive Black Friday Cyber Monday deal is the best of the year, so don't miss out. Terms and conditions apply. I am so into tennis right now. I'm not kidding you. When we went down to Cabo, we probably played 7 days in a row. We're actually going to San Diego and we're going to play for another 7 days in a row. We wake up. We start our day with tennis. It's so fun. Sometimes the kids come down with us. They try to pick up a racket. It's just a really fun family sport. And I also think that it's strengthened my marriage because we work together a lot and we obviously read together a lot. We're together a lot, but this is giving us something really to do that's competitive and fun and sexy. And at this point, I just feel like I'm a better tennis player than Michael. So it's just really fun. But what I'm wearing always, I've been wearing this the whole time I've been playing tennis, is the Demi Active Dress by Roback. Okay, the one that I like the best right now, you guessed it, is Fleet Navy. But they also have a really good midnight black one in seasonal colors. If you're going to get a seasonal color, I personally am a big fan of the willow green. So there's a couple different colors on there. You got to get the navy. It's $78. It's so good. It holds you in. It's flattering. It's tight. And it's the best for sports or tennis. I even wear it when I'm lifting weights. If you haven't already, it's now time to try out some Roback. Use code SKINNY on roback.com for a generous 20% off your first order through the end of this week. That's spelled RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off fleeces, hoodies, joggers, and more with code SKINNY. Stay comfortable all day with Roback. Are you looking to sex up the holiday season? I like to keep things spicy in my marriage. I know that the bedroom is a very important place to focus on. At least it is for me. I know it's important to my husband. And I like to keep things colorful. One of the things I love to do is I love to bring in Woo More Play. You guys know this. It's a coconut love oil. It's made from organic coconuts and natural ingredients. This is really weird, but it's like prevented UTIs for me because the coconut oil is an antibacterial. It's really awesome. It's amazing for grip. It tastes good. It feels good. I just love it. While you're picking up some goodies from Woo More Play, I highly recommend the vibrator. You could use it alone, use it with a partner, partners, whatever you want, whatever fits your fancy. It is a good stocking stuffer. There is not a girl on the planet that wouldn't like this vibrator. It also comes in a very discreet case. It's like a toothbrush case. So you can travel with it, doesn't get in your stuff, and the packaging's discreet. So if you have like a nosy neighbor, you don't need to worry about that because everything is super minimal and it's not like raunchy. It's very chic. You can get Woo on Nordstroms.com. So you can go shop everything on Nordstrom's. Check out Woo Coconut Love Oil. It's available online at Nordstroms.com for the Black Friday Cyber Monday holiday. Happy shopping, Nordstroms.com. What makes a perfect coffee table? I want to know this too.
Okay, I'm going to get a lot of shit for this. So, I once said, somebody asked me what's like the worst like gift you can give someone. And I said, nothing says I don't care like a candle.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So I literally, every person
Why are you gonna get shit for that? Because
every person that had ever given me a candle had to call and tell me, like, that was rude. Anyone who had ever given a candle to someone else had to call and defend themselves. So it was like a whole thing. It was really annoying. And I've said this once to one person, and she still teases me about it. So I'm going to go on a limb here. But I'm going to say I do not believe in decorating coffee tables with coffee table books.
Ah.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Anything but.
Anything but.
Anything but.
Can we do a candle on the coffee table?
No.
Okay.
No.
So,
no.
Okay.
So, I also think that everyone should be collecting something, right?
Okay.
So I collect beautiful Japanese calligraphy boxes. I also collect ugly Italian ceramics from the 70s. So I think it's a nice place to maybe show a collection, things that you think, and items or
like
things that you think are beautiful, some flowers, things around it.
We could bring down all my old Star Wars toys, Lauren, and we could put them on the coffee table.
Star Wars could be cool. But listen, if there is a book of something that is like really important, an artist that like means something to you, a place that you visited that has like a lot of memories, yes, by all means. But I think just having like a perfect stack of books.
It's a little boring, huh?
It's a little boring.
Yeah.
A little basic.
Yeah. And it's the worst. I'm going to probably get shit for this too, is when everyone has the same books. We all know the books, the different color. It's like where you've been on vacation.
Yeah.
Or they're different colors. Yeah. And everyone has the same.
Well, and that's what happens is then everybody's house ends up looking the same because everyone has the same coffee tables and the same layout and the same, So I have a friend that I said that to. She came to my house and she noticed that I don't have any coffee table books out. And she asked me about it. And so I actually said, I was like, oh, I deliberately don't do that. And I have this and that. And she became bright red. And since then has told me that she's like, I got rid of all my coffee table books and that it sort of helped her actually, she said, develop her own house and her own style, because then once she didn't have that, she had to find things to put there. And then it just sort of spread from there. And she said it was the most liberating advice that she'd been given.
It's also the worst when you haven't even opened the book and you just have it because you saw it on someone's Instagram story.
Yeah.
That's like you got to at least open the book and flip through it, mark a page or two. You can't just have like a pristine book.
Nobody's opened those books ever. Ever. Nobody has ever looked inside those books. They're just there. So yeah, what was the question? What was the question?
How do you style a perfect coffee table?
So he must know because he's asking that you don't use a coffee table book.
Oh, he's got very good taste.
Knows.
Does he have really good taste?
Oh,
yeah.
Some of the best.
I often do like above shots of coffee tables on my Instagram, like a vignette. Yeah, I do like a lot of interesting boxes with textures and
Where are you getting all your collection? Are you on auction sites? Where are you finding all these
oh my
pieces? Is
God,
it just everywhere you go, traveling?
everywhere. I would say I'm kind of like addicted to beauty. I'm
Okay.
addicted to beautiful things. And I am constantly in search of beautiful things. When I was younger, I visited Venice. I walked into, the cathedral and St. Mark's and had on my like Walkman listening to Guns N' Roses. And I walk
Nice.
in and nothing could have prepared me for the most sort of awesome experience. And I had never been, I was just completely taken by the beauty of it. And I think to this day, I'm like always chasing that feeling, like chasing the dragon, trying to find my next fix of something beautiful. So wherever I am like in museum, I'm in galleries. If I'm going to a destination wedding, I will always search like Sunday morning flea markets.
That's
Like
cute.
no matter where I am, I will always find like a local market. I'll go to a consignment store. I'll be like, where do all the rich ladies send their clothes when they're done with
Uh,
them? I'll find that place. And so I'm just always sort of like looking, I'm seeking always. And I'm not necessarily like acquisitive. Like if I see something beautiful, I don't have to own it. I can just look at it and appreciate it and move on. But there are certain like collections that I have that I'm like always sort of adding to. And it gives you a little some guardrails when you're like at a flea market or an antiques fair or something like that.
what is your closet situation? He wants to know, is there an organization process? Is it a mess?
He needs to be my best friend. Like he's asking all the right questions.
Oh, he's a good one. He's a good one.
He's a good one. We had dinner
Yeah,
last night.
he's a good one.
Oh, good. Okay.
He was not a bore at dinner, let me tell you.
Oh, good.
No, he's
Not a
not
bore. He was sitting on my right.
Hmm.
I'm like a 2 in. Sometimes I'm a 1 in, 1 out, or a 1 in, 2 out policy.
Okay.
So, like, if I buy a black dress, I have to be willing to part with at least one black dress.
Oh, okay.
If I buy a like workout set, I have to be willing to part with a workout set.
Can you adapt that? Because I can't.
I just donated like
Yeah, thank
literally
God. It's
almost everything.
I've never seen anything.
When
like
did you do that, by the way?
like literally
She's gonna go to
2
the
weeks
store.
ago.
Where'd you go?
Okay, because someone told me that October 2nd there was a solar eclipse, and that it's all about like getting rid of
Maybe
old
I
things.
sensed it. Maybe I'm
And
just
so
energetic.
I just did the same thing. My husband just did the same thing. Everyone I've been talking to is like,
You know
I've been
what's funny you
purging my
say that?
closet.
I was gone one day and I was just sitting around and I was like, I need to just declutter my
It
entire
was that
life.
I
solar
bet you
eclipse.
it was the solar
it hit
eclipse.
you. It hit you hard.
Wow.
But it's a thing.
Huh.
So the same thing happened. The same thing happened to me. But that just keeps me. Listen, I'm at a point in my life where I should already have all the things that I need in my closet. So anything that I'm adding is just like a creative at this
Is
point.
it systematic and like very clean and pristine, or is it like everything's thrown everywhere?
Remember, low expectations,
Okay.
No, I'm not a perfectionist. I have like my own system. I always wish I could be more organized. Like when Fashion Week rolls around, like I wish I was that person that spent all summer getting my looks ready. I do it the night before. By day 5 of Fashion Week, I'm like, I'm out of outfits. Like I can't even. So no, I wish I were like a more organized person, and like I wish I was more of a perfectionist in life. And if I were, I would apply it first to my closet. I have a system; it's pretty organized, but it's not. It doesn't look like it was done by a professional or anything.
I bet it's cool though. It's probably styled in your own way.
Yeah, I try to have it so I don't have to like cycle seasons.
Okay.
So it has to be year round. So I don't take my sweaters out.
That feels so much less overwhelming to
That
me.
is
Yeah.
one convenient thing about
Yeah.
living in California is you basically don't have to, you just could have one type of clothing
Yes.
the whole year. Here you
Yes.
have to have a lot of different stuff.
Where can everyone find you, follow you, support what you're doing, go to your site, shop? If there's maybe one product that we all need from your site, what is it? Like, is there a great tank or like a great blazer that you think everyone needs that looks good?
So first of all, I think what's great about shopping on Moda is that we're bringing the fashion shows to you. So everything that goes down the runway. So we just finished, we're actually just wrapping right now, Fashion Week. So we had New York, London, Milan, and Paris. And everything that goes down the runway, we photograph it, we put it up on the site. You put a 50% deposit down on the pieces that you want. It's produced and then it arrives to you like 4 to 6 months later. This is a very advanced way of shopping, but I actually kind of like it because it's like a really fancy layaway. So if there's like a dress that you really like, you know, you're paying 50% now and 50% later. So it kind of splits up.
And you have to wait for the present?
You have to wait for it. And then when it arrives, it feels like you've earned it. Like you've been waiting for it.
And their box is so good too.
Yeah. And that's that's how fashion people shop. We go into the showrooms and we order our clothes and we wait 6 months for them to arrive. So for fashion people, it's a very normal way of shopping. And I think it's a very slow and deliberate way of shopping. And I think in today's, you know, environment where everything feels almost like disposable, like people are buying things to wear at one time, this is sort of the exact opposite, because this item is being produced, you know, for you, for an end customer. It's not just being, you know, made, thousands of them. They're going to throw in on, you know, every website and every department store. This is, you know, a bit more deliberate. And then, of course, we have our regular in-season boutique, which is, you know, at your door in 24 hours. That's like 75% of our business right now. And I would say the must-visit place on the site would be Lauren's Closet. So we have, so I do a curation. And during trunk show season, it's all the pieces that are for pre-order. And then during the rest of the year, it's all in season. And I usually do a mix of basics and classics, things that are very on trend. And then lately I've been really leaning towards like color and texture and bling and glamour and being a little over the top again after being quiet and like stealth. And
there's been a lot of beige. I had Danny and Alex on the podcast the other day and they were asking me, and it's the thing is TikTok and Instagram, there's been beige everywhere.
Yeah.
Lauren thinks she discovered the color navy.
I did.
She thinks she's new to navy. Like,
I did.
Navy's
great. You might have discovered.
I
can't say that to her.
I love navy. Right now I like breaking all of those rules, like wearing navy and black, wearing gold and silver, wearing like black shoes with a brown belt.
Love.
Yeah. You know, all those things that were like considered outrageous a couple of years ago.
You gotta keep up.
This is more fashionable than me. No. When he first met me, like he had so many refinements. How did you two meet? We met when we were 12.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then we got married later.
You can't use this term anymore, but I kind of had to like Kanye her closet.
A little bit. Yeah, he did.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
You could use the term. I don't know.
Wait,
people don't like it anymore.
I have a book for you.
Still, we have a couple more weeks. Well, to be determined.
He had to Kanye me.
So there was a lot of one-offs going on.
He has a very refined taste.
Okay, good.
But I've also helped with you in other ways, so let's not get ahead of ourselves.
My husband has very good taste too, and so I think that also.
I don't think I have.
Important.
I don't know if I have. I don't like. I can't come up with the idea myself, but if I see something, I'm particular about it.
Yeah, and you know if it's good, and you know if it's not.
I'm just like, and I'm opinionated about like what I think.
I think I just have a deal with my husband that if he has a comment, that he has to say it before I leave the house.
Okay.
So that
not when you're out.
Yes, because we were at the Met Gala and I'm like walking up the stairs. It was Anglomania. And so Andre Leontali had put me in this like Alexander McQueen puke green ostrich feather ruffled collar, like, you know, like those things that you put at the end of a turkey, you know, on the like the little chef's hat. It was like that, but green with feathers. But it was Anglomania. It was Andre and like Lee McQueen, of course. It was, so I felt amazing. And we get to the bottom of the steps and they like call to take our photo. And my husband is like, no way, I'm taking a picture of you in that ugly fucking dress, and ran up the stairs.
He hated it.
Hated it. And then I spent the whole night being like, am I the asshole? Like, am I the asshole? And it really was ugly, but it was appropriate for the night. But anyway, after that, I told him that if he has a comment, you know, he should say it before I leave the house. So at least I am consciously like overriding or, indulging.
You have to tell us before you go your favorite Met Gala look that you've ever done.
I would say the year it would have been like punk rock, and Dolce & Gabbana at first it was their first haute couture collection called Moda. And so they made a dress and then I just like layered it with jewelry.
Glamorous.
Yeah.
Where can everyone find you?
They can find me on the 6th floor at Tiffany, at the LSD, on Instagram. I'm not on TikTok, yet. And then, at modaoperandi.com in, Lauren's closet.
Thank you so much for
See,
coming.
podcast wasn't too bad.
It wasn't that bad.
I know, it's fun, right?
Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
It's different. Why I like it is you get context of the person, and you can. We were saying the other day, there's never been anyone that comes on the show that you can't figure out how they got to their opinion. Meaning, like, there's never anyone with like a bad intention. You can kind of see the whole story because it's long form.
Yeah.
It's different.
It's great.